two friends suffered a violent attack. The trail of blood was left along their escape route.
Last year, 233 women were sexually assaulted in illegal minicabs in the capital.
When we turn our televisions on and see the terrible stories, we all look for somebody to blame. But personal safety is about taking responsibility for your own actions before you find yourself with that sinking realization that something bad is about to happen to you. Urban survival is about adapting to your environment. If you're in tune with your surroundings and learn to trust your instinct, 9 times out of 10, you can avoid a dangerous situation before it happens to you. The concrete jungle, the human zoo. In 1850, only 2% of the world's population lived in cities. Today, the figure is around 30% and growing. What are cities? They are the central office, the headquarters of finance, of politics, of culture and crime.
Annually, there's roughly around about 1 million aggravated violent assaults.
We're getting thugs just crashing on doors and attacking people.
It's basically springtime for predatory urban criminals.
People need to make a stand. We need to be putting these people back in the shadows.
Images of crime in the city have always been closely connected. In the 18th century, the images of rural migrants preyed upon by urban deceit. In the 19th century, the situation was class-based, and you have issues about dangerous classes and the unreformable urban poor. In the 20th century, urban crime tends to have focused around notions of youth, immigration, questions of race and the underclass. And it's out of those ideas that we see the notion of the predatory urban criminal.
To cope with all the hustle and bustle, we learn to desensitize ourselves from what's going on around us, depersonalize ourselves from our neighbours on the street. But could all this leave us vulnerable to an attack?
Social theorists for hundreds of years have talked about that exact notion of the blasé individual, the urbanite, who has to work out his best way through city streets.
People think that they're aware, but they're not. They're in their own mind. They're thinking about EastEnders tonight, or they're thinking about what they're going to have to dinner, or what argument they had that morning with the boss, because walking is so boring. The reality is that when you're out there walking, you're vulnerable. Because although the world isn't full of predators, predators are out there.
When disaster strikes, would you be a victim or a survivor? This is the question we're going to ask 4 members of the public when we put their survival instincts to the test. Each of these men and women will be taught how best to deal with the hazards that ordinary people face on our city streets every day.
I've got a very positive outlook to life, so I don't concentrate too much on things that scares me. I just go out and do things. I think I definitely pass as a streetwise person.
My name is Jeremy Brown. I'm a doorman and a professional wrestler. Surviving is one of the key things to life.
I'm not a strong kind of person, you know, but I think I'm kind of clever enough in my head to at least make the most of the opportunity to stay alive.
I'm naughty, a little crazy, I'm a fun-loving person. I'm driven, you know, anything that I do, I do it with a passion.
"90% of survival is about awareness and appearance. How you appear on the street will make a big difference to whether you become a victim of street crime or not." To find out how our 4 members of the public present themselves on the city streets, I found a hidden vantage point to watch over their arrival on test day. A thief is a predator, and he will always look for the slowest moving target. Somebody that's not paying attention, that's dilly-dallying around, that's not aware of the surroundings. Okay guys, it was really interesting watching you walk down the street. Although you all walk in different ways, you made common mistakes. Okay Sharp, as you were walking down the street, you've got all the toys. You had your headphones in from an MP3 player. It's taken one of your senses away. You can't hear. You're distracted, you're walking down looking at this, not aware of what's going on, you can't hear anything. So again, they come in, hit you hard, bang, disorientated, and they're off. Yeah. In fact, mate, you were looking round, but I don't think you're actually looking at people. When you walk down there, you've got to be aware of who's around you. If there's a guy coming up, check him out, have a good look. A lot of females will not make eye contact with a guy. The more on to you, Jeremy. You're a big fella, you're very confident, and you think nobody will take you on. That's a big mistake. Your mobile phone was right on your chest there, a prime target. What you've got to remember is the mugger is going to be psyched up, his adrenaline's going to be flowing, he's going to come in like an Exocet missile and whack you, take it. Before you know it, you're going to be chasing after him, but you'll have that time delay on him. Amanda, you were very, very good. Everything was closed up, your jacket was done up, pockets done up, you had your bag across your shoulder, hand over the top, just relaxed, but you walked with a sense of purpose. And you nearly had this invisible barrier around you when you were walking down there that, you know, people were moving out the way for you. It's all about awareness. When we all drive a car, we all concentrate. We drive down the road, we're aware of pedestrians, other motorists, junctions, traffic lights. If you can put that awareness into when you're walking down a street, you'll always be aware of who's around you. Contrary to popular belief, jump out of the bushes type of attacks very rarely happen. For most criminals, the goal is immediate victory at little personal risk.
Mugger. In fact, the word comes from America. It was from the mafia. And the reason it was called mugging is because only mugs done it. People with brains would rob banks. Basically, if you had a brain, you'd be sitting in the House of Lords and robbing countries, not people.
I always try to think of it as an animal hunting a prey in the wild, like a lion, you know. You've got a lion kind of skirting a group of antelope, and then the antelope go about their business and they start munching the grass, and then the lion begins to concentrate, concentrating on the victim, focusing, moving in, waiting, pouncing. Now, if you're a predator, what are you going to go for? The person that looks vulnerable and timid, or the person that looks strong and capable?
Attackers are looking for people who are switched off, that are maybe looking down at the ground on their mobile phone, so the attacker can easily walk up to them and that person's not even going to see them coming.
Most people instinctively know when something isn't right. They just don't pick up on what it is, and they try to override their instincts and pretend that they're being foolish. But if something doesn't seem right, I'd say that it probably isn't right.
If your gut is telling you that someone might be following you, look over your shoulder and make direct eye contact and let them know that you know they're there.
If you feel as though someone's following you or something's just about to happen, don't wait for it to happen, act.
By looking at the reflection in the shop window, it's a great way to see if you're being watched.
If you think you're being followed, instead of reacting in the moment, you can maybe cross over the road, see whether this person is following you. If they follow you, then cross over back again. If they cross back with you, now this is the point where you can decide what to do next. Best advice would be to think of a place of safety to go to. Where's the nearest pub, restaurant, garage, off license, which is open? But if you're taken by surprise, you don't have that reaction time, you don't have the luxury of those choices. So that's why it's so important in our world today, I think, to be switched on.
If you are switched on and aware, you are less likely to become a target of the street criminal. But as this true story illustrates, for many victims, the reality is simply finding yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I'd been lucky enough to be given my dream job in the city for a major PR agency. I love my work, and I was even more excited when I was invited to become an account manager. It was on the morning of my first presentation to the director that I suffered the experience that was to change my life forever. Looking back, I've often thought how the circumstances conspired to ensure I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was feeling good that morning. I'd had a smart new haircut the day before and was looking forward to my first presentation. Normally I don't like travelling by tube, but I knew that if I didn't, I'd be late for my appointment. I started to half run, tucking my bag under one arm and my portfolio under another.
Excuse me.
Suddenly, I heard a voice from behind me saying, "Excuse me, please." I turned round to see a man who said that his pregnant girlfriend was in trouble. She'd had a fall and could I come to help?
Excuse me, could you help me, please? My girlfriend, she needs help. She's pregnant and she's fallen over. Could you stay with her while I phone an ambulance? She's really hurt.
I hesitated, glancing at my watch. I felt awkward. I didn't know what to do.
Hey, look, I'm really sorry. I just can't help.
Look, it won't take long. It's 5 minutes out of your time, yeah? She's really hurt.
I felt that I couldn't refuse to help a pregnant woman, but this was my big day at work and I was already late. I was also aware that I didn't know anything about this man and that it might be inviting trouble to go with him.
I really have to get to work. I'm going to be late.
She's really hurt.
In the split second it took me to realise these thoughts, he had stuck a knife against my ribs.
Coming up, we take 4 very different people and put them through a crash course in urban survival to see if they have what it takes to stay alive.
Time out! It's not down to you to say, oh, well, no, it won't happen to me, because it could happen to you.
I think it comes down to will.
Oh, come on! Okay.
Give us it! The will to make it, basically. That's what makes a survivor.
Coming up in How Not to Die, a woman's remarkable tale of surviving against all odds. But first, we see how our 4 members of the public cope when they face crisis head-on.
Okay, you might fantasize about what you might or might not do in a survival situation. Let me tell you, survival is all about experience. One of the key factors is fear. Now, fear can be either your best friend or your worst enemy. Fear can keep you alive.
Fear is an animal instinct from when we were hunting bears and spearing fishes and danger was around the corner. Fear is our sixth sense. It's our internal smoke alarm that goes off when there's trouble.
The adrenaline release you get from being in a crisis situation will help you run faster, jump higher, and make you more alert on the street. But what you must do is trust your inner voice, your gut feeling. Now, this factor will help you avoid a potentially dangerous situation. Okay, it's now time for your first test. Follow me.
Any of us, whatever we do for a career, we train to do that. Muggers, attackers, rapists, they will all do the same thing.
They'll come across as helpful. Are you all right? You know, and it'll be sort of in your face, the over-helpful guy, or it'll be sort of in your face and sort of the argument thing where you bumped into me, man, what's your game? And so people think it's an argument going on.
Earlier, we saw how body language affects the way you come across to a potential attacker. But how will our 4 contributors react when they are confronted with aggression on the street?
Hello, love. You got the time?
Sorry?
You got the time?
Yeah, just hang on a second.
Give us your fucking money. No. Give us your money!
Please, relax. You'll get the money. Just 1 second. I need to get it out of my bag, okay?
No, get your bag off. I want your bag.
Okay.
Hurry up!
Here's my bag. Here's my bag. Here. There you go.
Where's your watch?
I don't have a watch. I just have a mobile phone, which is in my bag.
So, Amanda, why did you actually stop?
That's basic instinct, I think. If somebody, another human being, asks me something, and whether it is from a time or help, I think my natural thing to do is to always respond to that.
Amanda is very polite, and she's quite a nice girl.
Hello, love. You got the time?
Sorry? It's the kind of niceness about just somebody asking the time that gets you off guard.
So when I asked her the time, she doesn't have a wristwatch on, so she had to look into her bag, which takes her eye off me for that split second, which allowed me to get up close and then grab her.
Give us your fucking money. No.
I realised it was a mistake when I stopped, and maybe in another situation I would walk on, but I think I tend to react towards whatever the person is saying, and then not quite realising that I'm putting myself in danger. But yeah, it's hard to get some things out of your system that kind of come natural to you.
99% of the time it will work for attackers because 99% of people will be unaware of how they actually operate. Dialogue, they'll ask a question. Distraction, they'll distract you by asking you the question. Distance close down, they'll move in while they're asking the question. And then destruction, it'll all happen just like that. It won't just happen 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll happen so quickly you won't even realise they've done it. That's a classic way that they actually work. So they're kind of like playing a game, really, a mind game, if you like.
All right. You got the time?
No.
Hey? Give us your fucking money now. Great! Come on!
Okay.
Give us it!
Please, relax.
Yeah, go. Take your bag off now!
Okay. I'm taking my bag off.
Quickly! Empty your pockets. What's in your pockets now?
I don't have money. It's just my travel card.
Yeah, that'll do.
Pen.
Yeah,
some
you
money.
didn't see you had any fucking money.
Okay. All right.
You're lying. What else you got on you?
Nothing.
Well, what's that?
Nothing.
What is it?
Well, I have a coin. I have £5. Well, whatever it is.
So, Charlotte, when you're walking down this alley, what was going through your mind?
Well, it's an empty alley. It's broad daylight. You're thinking it's safe. It's all right. You're not thinking that this guy's gonna mug you.
Would you ever consider somebody's trying to distract you to get, just to buy a bit of time to close the distance and get close to you?
Until now, no.
All right, you got the time?
Sharp made the same mistake as everybody else. I think everything's happening too fast for them, and they're allowing me time to get in and get really close to them. And obviously, that's when I bring the knife out, and it's too late.
Give us your fucking money now.
Don't take your eye off the ball. Keep an eye on that guy and just say, I haven't got to watch, mate. Carry on walking.
What's in your pockets now?
He did panic, in this situation where I asked him if he had any money, and he said no. And then he pulls out a £10 note in his hand.
You didn't see he had any fucking money.
In this contrived situation, he was panicking and he was getting a sensory overload. So what would he be like in the real, in the real thing?
It's a sad comment on our world today, but if you feel that this person doesn't seem right, then you don't tell them the time. You just carry on walking. The key thing is not to stop and look down or look away. Keep on walking, but be firm, and don't give them what they necessarily want.
You got the time, love?
No.
I just want the time.
No.
Come on, love, give us the time.
I don't have the time.
Oh, piss off, you miserable bitch. Okay, time out, Fagma. Well done.
Okay.
Yeah. You got the time, love?
No. I didn't really want to engage in any conversation, so I tried to keep it quite like no, no, I don't have the time.
She didn't stop and say, I'm sorry, I haven't got a watch, or it's such and such, just wasn't interested and carried on moving.
I think in a normal situation where you have other people around you, yes, I would give people the time. But I don't think this was a normal situation at all.
Asking for the time is only one example of how an attacker will distract your attention. The key thing to remember is never to take anyone on face value.
Suddenly I heard a voice from behind me saying, "Excuse me, please." I turned round to see a man who said that his pregnant girlfriend was in trouble. She'd had a fall and could I come to help?
Look, I'm really sorry. I just can't help.
Please, it won't take long yet.
In the split second it took me to realise these thoughts. He had stuck a knife against my ribs. I was totally frozen with horror. I never faced physical violence in my life before. I didn't think of screaming or running or doing anything.
You're coming with me.
I just did as I was told, walking slightly in front of him so I couldn't see his face. I still believed his story about the woman who was in need of help. I actually still thought that him pulling a knife on me was his way of making sure I came to help. He said she was in a nearby house and frog-marched me along the next road until we came to the squat, a run-down and dirty ruin at the end of the road. Even then, he pretended to call out to her, shouting, "It's all right, love, I've brought someone," before gesturing me into a room at the back. It was incredibly squalid. The door was open and there was a light on. There was nobody on the bed. I knew then, without a shadow of doubt, that this man intended to harm me. In an instant, his hands were around my neck and he started strangling me.
No point screaming. No one's gonna hear you.
Even in the state of terror I was in, I knew he was right. I was fighting for breath, and realizing that my screaming had provoked the violent reaction in him, I decided to stay calm.
So where was you going?
He wanted to know my name,
Where do you
where I
think you were
worked,
going?
how old I was, even where I bought my shoes, which he admired. I told him the truth, knowing that he had my handbag and that
smart.
any lie might send him into a frenzied attack.
What sort of a presentation was that then? Was it an important presentation?
I didn't know what to do. I knew by then that he intended rape, but more than anything, I was terrified of dying. For the next 45 minutes, I was subjected to a violent, humiliating sex attack. The details I've only told the police, as I cannot bear to relive the degradation of what I was forced to do to him. After I came round, I was just lying still, praying that he had gone. I could hear a fire burning near my head and the sensation of heat at my feet. I dared to look around and I couldn't see anyone. So slowly and painfully, I managed to get to my feet and go towards the door, only to find that there was no door handle. There was nothing to do. I couldn't break the door down by myself and just lay down by the door, praying that the fumes would kill me before the fire did. To my amazement, I heard a voice saying, "The door's open." I didn't know whether it was still my attacker or what I was going to do, but at least I'd been offered a chance of survival. Slowly and astonishingly, I dragged myself down the dirty staircase, on my bottom because I was so weak. To my great relief, I saw that the front door was open, and I staggered out onto the street. I thought that once I was outside, where there'd be passers-by, everything would be all right. But I was wrong. As I stood there, naked and bleeding, shouting, "Please help me, I've been raped," nobody came to my rescue. It wasn't for some minutes I finally looked round and could make out the yellow helmets of the firemen approaching.
Usually that's the point at which people then start to fall apart because they've held themselves together for what feels like an incredibly long period of time. And when you've been in a situation like this, you need to do three things. You need to talk to someone you can trust about it because you will be left with feelings of fear. And you need to, fear can be a magnifier to making yourself vulnerable. You need to allay anxiety. You may well be left with feelings of anger, and anger can be a very destructive influence, and you could then go on and snap if someone else was pushing your buttons. So it is important to talk to someone about what you were thinking, what you felt, what took place during the time when you were held hostage, how you felt when you were fleeing, and what feelings that you're left with.
This is a true story of one woman's extraordinary will to live Somehow, she was given the extra strength it took to survive and overcome an emotional trauma that no one should ever have to experience in their lifetime.
You hear most victims when they've had something happen, oh, I was so scared, I felt sick, you know, I had pains in my stomach, my legs were shaking, you know, I couldn't see properly, and they have all these different, you know, feelings and emotions that are going through, and what they have to realise that everybody goes through this. Even sometimes people who, you know, who fear their boss will feel the same feelings. It's just that during an attack or an assault, it's just so much worse. The only way to actually feel what it's like to have someone shouting at you, swearing at you, being abusive towards you, is to practice it.
What I'm going to do is give you a taste of what it's like to come under attack. How you will survive is by having experience and knowing how your body reacts to it, how your mind reacts, and what you can do in that particular situation. In a moment, I'm going to get you both to face one another. I want you to imagine the person you're looking at has just hurt someone very dear to you. I want you to build up all that aggression inside of you and pour it out onto that person you're looking at. Okay?
What are you fucking looking at? Shut up! Don't fucking smile at me!
Okay. Whoa. You okay, Amanda? Yeah.
Right, what I'd like you to do now is both face one another and start.
What are you doing? What? You stupid! Where do you go? Away! You idiot! Stop it, you bitch!
Okay, right. Come together. Now, what I'd like you to do is face away from one another.
Okay.
Backs to back. Okay. Now, don't look around. Amanda, describe Fagma to me now. Well, how old is she?
Gosh.
How tall is she? And does she have heels on, or is that barefoot?
I don't think so. No.
What type of shoes does she have on?
No idea.
What colour top does she have on?
White.
What about jewellery?
Can't remember anything.
Okay.
The stress of a violent incident is so profound, physically and psychologically. You lose your memory, you lose any cognitive process, you lose any kind of rational thinking process about how you should deal with this act. Because of the stress on you. It just does that to people.
You were only shouting at one another for a matter of seconds, and you've looked at one another all morning, but you couldn't remember silly little things like Fagma was wearing glasses.
Your heart beats faster, your blood pressure rises, the adrenaline is surging through your body, and you're not rational now.
What you've just had a taste of is a little bit of adrenaline rushing through your body, and that basically fuses your brain out and you can't remember. Your natural instincts is to hold your breath. Well, what you're doing there is starving your brain with oxygen. First thing you must do is breathe out.
If you concentrate on breathing out as a reflex reaction, your lungs have to fill with air, so the oxygen supply gets going to your brain. You're thinking more clearly than your aggressor. You can manage the situation.
Dealing with aggression is one thing, but a bigger problem for women is how to cope with unwanted sexual advances. Okay, the next exercise we're going to do is a role play. You'll have to imagine you're in a bar, a stranger comes up to you and you know, he starts coming on to you. Is there any service?
Well, I'm still waiting.
Hi, love, how are you doing?
Hi, okay, yourself?
Yeah, not bad. I'm working around the corner there.
Oh, so am I.
So when we're going to get down for this drink? You've got lovely hair.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah?
I'm not really interested in the drink, really. I'm just come here to eat something, so, yeah.
Well, you just said you were.
Chris, just calm down a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, just stop touching me, all right?
Oh, sorry. Am I getting the wrong signals here?
I think you do, actually, yeah.
Hardly know you, Chris.
I mean, you seem like a nice guy, but you know, we hardly know each other, and
yeah, well, that's how we're going to get to know each other, isn't it? What's the matter? Are you frigid or what?
Excuse me, stop insulting me. Don't really appreciate the immediate touching thing here. No, sorry.
Oh, really? So when do we get to touch each other?
I'm going to step over there away from you, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my drink. Thank you.
You won't mind. I don't mind.
What are you trying to say here?
Okay, time out.
I don't know how to get out of it.
Consistent. Okay, just to run through that little exercise there. there's a number of points that you should really take on board. Don't get into a dialogue. Just say, you're not interested, you're not interested, you're not interested. Don't give me any other avenues to come down and start a conversation. You just act like a broken record.
Good communication skills are important, but you also have to be aware of your own body language.
Just calm down a bit.
Yeah? When you're saying, no, I'm not really interested, with that big, beautiful smile, I'm thinking, yeah, she is. She's really interested.
Stop touching me, all right?
Oh, sorry. If you're going to be assertive, look assertive. Be assertive with your voice and the information that you're telling them, but also with your body language, OK? You're saying you're not interested, but you're smiling and giggling.
I mean, you seem like a nice guy, but you know, we hardly know each other. And
yeah, well, that's how we're going to get to know each other.
I tend to be just too nice to people. I'm generally quite smiley, and it's just rubbish. You know, he's not, you know, he's not thinking of me when he's trying to touch my hand, and you know, he's just thinking of what he wants out of it. So, yeah. It's a good lesson.
Well, what's the matter? Are you frigid or what?
I didn't come here to be insulted. Just back off.
No.
Back off, okay?
I like the fact that he stated, you know, just make your point over and over and make it clear to this person, you know, because I think at some point I said back off about 2 or 3 times, and it worked.
Coming up, our 4 contributors take a harsh lesson in the realities of self-defense. And I find out what is behind the dark and volatile emotion that is wreaking terror on our roads.
So much anger, so much aggression, so much violence, internal violence, that they're going to take it out on you.
Coming up, we meet a woman whose primal instincts saved her from a terrifying attack.
I was 19, I knew no self-defence at all, and survival just kicked in for me.
But first, I enter the world of road rage.
We have the longest working hours in the UK of any country in Europe and the second longest in the developed world behind the United States. We're interfaced all the time with all this new technology by emails demanding speed of response. I think that all leads ultimately to people being impatient, having difficulty concentrating, not being very civil with one another because of the pace of life we're leading.
The world we inhabit swirls round in our heads. A friendly chat in the boss's office, troubled relationships, the daily grind of life takes its toll. But at least the traffic is moving well. You slide gently onto the next lane and begin to accelerate. As you pass another car, its driver banks sharply on you. Glancing to your right, you see a hostile glare and the mouthing of obscenities in your direction. The chase is on. Welcome to the world of road rage.
Road ragers tend to be just ordinary people with all the pressures and stresses of life which mount and build up on a given day, and it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and boom, that driver does something and they become the displacement, the victim of their internal anger.
Road rage is a dark and volatile emotion. It can happen in a parking lot or a motorway, city street or country lane. Most of us don't consider ourselves aggressive by nature, but road rage is a common phenomenon that happens to ordinary people and comes out of nowhere.
Ordinary people living ordinary lives for whom the everyday stresses get too much.
Take Matt. Like many of us, he's a pretty good driver, but occasionally he likes to open up his engine and cut up the motorway. Take this typical day. Matt is on his way to work.
The stresses of the day come to us in our car because it's the time we've got to think about them. It's been building up for this for a long, long time, and then some small thing happens and it all erupts.
Bad news for motorists. There's an earlier accident on the M5 brought traffic between junctions 7 and 9 to a complete standstill. Motorists are advised to take alternative routes.
Come on! Yeah, I'll be there as soon as I can. I'll give it a rest. It's not usually the incident that's occurred on the road. It's something deeper rooted with somebody who has the need to vent so much anger, so much aggression, so much violence, internal violence, that they're going to take it out on you. You can have minor incidents like somebody just bumping you and following you closely, all the way to quite violent physical intimidation. Not just intimidation, physical violence. People have been killed. Someone's got somewhere to go, mate.
If someone's tailgating you, your first instinct is to speed up. Don't play the game. All you'll do is wind up an already angry driver. Just slow down and let him past. Go on, get past. You've got loads of room.
Yeah, think you're fucking clever, do you? I'll fucking show you.
Don't flash your lights, don't wave, don't even make eye contact. Any attempt to communicate could be misconstrued and enrage the driver further.
Yeah, think you're fucking clever, do you? Fucking wanker, I'll show you.
If you're boxed in, always make sure you've got enough room to carry out evasive action.
If the other driver gets out of their car and starts trying to get hold of your car, you don't want to sit there and let them do it. What you need is somewhere to go.
If you can see the bottom of the wheels of the car in front, you can always pull out. If the driver continues to hassle you or you think you're being followed, head for the nearest police station or busy place. A crowd should be enough to bring the driver round.
And you really want to be doing everything you can to draw attention to yourself and, more importantly, the person who is now making you the victim of their road rage. So, you know, think about how you're going to do that.
Open the door!
The last thing you do under those circumstances is get out of your car. Yes, the lunatic with a baseball bat may be about to rearrange the outside of your car in quite a bad way, but they still got to get through the window.
Our road systems are not war zones. They're just another place for people to interact and get along. The phenomenon simply tells us that some people are incapable of that.
Earlier in the show, we learned that intuition is the key to keeping yourself safe on the streets. But when disaster strikes, it is fear that can become your greatest ally.
Fear is there to help you. You can turn your fear into anger and the anger into aggression, and it can. And that's what I did back in 1986 when I was attacked. I was on holiday, 2 o'clock in the daytime. Felt switched off, I was safe, I was on holiday. We're on holiday, we automatically think we're safe. It was a nice September's day, so I thought, okay, I'll go for a walk in the park. And I sat on the bench and had a sandwich and a drink, and I remember seeing this guy walk across the opposite bench, but took no notice. Again, I saw him around the fire beds. Totally, I remember looking at him at this stage, thinking, what are you looking at? And walking on. Things don't happen when you're on holiday, so I thought. The third time, I'm standing in a hut, covered by trees, and then suddenly this guy standing beside me in the hut. And I thought, where the hell did he come from? Carried on walking down the path, which was even more covered by trees. No one could see me at all. I turned around and he's coming towards me. At this instant, I knew I was going to be attacked. I just started pleading, screaming. He started, shut up, I've got a knife, fucking shut up. He started swearing his head off at me. I've got a knife, I've got a fucking knife. No, he never actually showed a knife, but the thought of a knife actually freaked me out. I thought, oh my God, it's going to kill me. The thoughts that go through your mind so fast, just rushing across your mind. So I did go quiet, because I thought, what else do I do? But at this point, because he thought I was going to comply, he released one of my hands. And then he released his other hand, obviously because he used his body weight to keep me pinned down. And at that point, I thought, sod it, I'd rather he stabbed me. And I just fought back and I tried to rip his eyes out. I was yanking his head back with one hand, fingers into his eyes, just clawing and clawing and clawing into his face. And it's crazy, the thoughts that go through your mind. I kept thinking, oh my God, his eyes are going to drop out on two springs and blood's going to spurt out. All these crazy thoughts go through your mind at the time, but I just thought, I don't care. It's either this or be raped. If all else has failed, awareness, avoidance has let you down, you haven't been switched on, things have just happened, they've just kicked off for whatever reason, and that's your only option is to fight back. You have absolutely no other choice. You have to commit yourself 100%.
You only use self-defense as a last resort. If you feel your life is in imminent danger, you act, and act quickly. Before we get into self-defense, what we have to learn is how to protect our own personal space. Your intuition will tell you if somebody is invading it. Amanda, protect your personal space. Is that it? Okay. Right, Jeremy, you come to me.
Back! 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 Even without contact, a confident lunge towards the stomach can trigger an aggressor to recoil, an instinctive human response to protect vital organs.
Okay, what you've got to do is, first of all, place your hands out, and that's a clear sign to stop. Then use your voice, and you go right from the diaphragm, and you project your voice at that person so there's no mistaking, and shock that person. Your last resort is to then use your hands and push back. When you focus on pushing somebody with your shoulders, you actually look beyond their shoulders and you push through. Chop, do you want to come to me? I'm stepping back. I'm putting my arms out, which is a clear sign. I'm taking a deep breath in. Back! Back!
A firm push through the shoulder blades will send an assailant off balance, buying you the valuable seconds you need to escape.
Okay, if he carries on coming and walking, use your arms and put all your force through it. One other way of defending your space is if Jeremy was coming towards me, he's coming, and then you pull out a personal alarm, give him a squeak, and then that gives you enough time to back off and run away. Some people don't know how to use a personal alarm properly. First of all, when you bring it out of your pocket, it can look like pepper spray. When you let it go and the high-pitched noise comes out, all you're doing is buying yourself time. You stun the guy, and it gives you enough time to back off and move away.
Personal safety and self-defence, they are two different words. Personal safety is saying, I'm looking after myself. I want to be switched on and be aware of what's going on around me, so I hope to avoid being a victim. Self-defence becomes the physical response, the physical side of what you can do if you had to use it.
If you don't do martial arts or boxing, forget trying to do something fancy. Just stick to the basics. But what you must understand is, if somebody grabs you, initially, when they grab you, they won't have a good hold on you. If you don't react immediately, they'll be like a snake, and they'll coil themselves around and trap you down, so then they can do anything to you. Now, as human beings, we've all got weapons on our body. Starting at the top, we have a head. So if I'm in your face, you can place your forehead, nutting me, on my nose. If I come in close, you can bite me. When I mean bite, I don't mean just a peck. It's in on the cheek, in on the nose, on the mouth. The next one is your hands. If you're not into boxing, don't make a fist. Use the palm of your hand. A good palm of the hand, slap there, you can break somebody's jaw. The next is the knee. You can bring your knee right up into my crotch. If you can't get your knee in, you'd use your hand. You get in there, get a good handful, and twist. What you've got to remember is this is definitely your last resort. If you are violent to somebody else, you're inviting them to be violent back. You're only doing self-defense to buy you enough time to run away. Does everybody understand?
Yeah. Once you use force against somebody, you have given them permission to up the stakes. If this person has hurt people before, if they're used to this type of thing, and you swing a punch, then you swing a punch is just an invitation for them to hurt you more.
You're not allowed to carry weapons of self-defense, but it's amazing what will come to hand in an emergency. Fanma, could I borrow your handbag, please? First thing, hairspray. You can spray this into somebody's eyes and possibly blind them temporarily. The next, the simple pen. If I come here, step forward. You've got this in your hand. What you can do is hold it, punch into the ribs. Don't squirm.
Okay.
I haven't done it hard yet. Okay, you can punch into the ribs, and that'll back somebody off. Grab me by the chest or by the collars. If somebody comes in, you can use the pen on a pressure point on the wrist. Now do something.
Ow!
Okay, just to prove that it's not just the girls.
Yeah.
Just grab it, grab. So you come in and you're on the pressure point.
Whoa.
Kneel down now. Kneel down!
Okay, all right. I'm down.
Okay, again, with the pen, you've got a hold of me, trying to strangle me. I've got my pen in. And he lift, right? You can get under where the solar plexus are and get under his ribs. But what you must do is use aggression and speed. Okay, you can't go in soft. It's got to be hard. You've got to understand this is your last ditch attempt to escape. So it's in! Okay? Self-defense should always be used as a last resort if you feel your life is threatened. And this is why you have to react like this, because if you don't, you're going to be in big trouble. Surviving the urban jungle is a very individual experience. It's how you cope with finding yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time. I hope I've demonstrated that through your actions and attitude, you can avert a crisis situation. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Next Thursday.
In a plane disaster, some people say you don't stand a chance. Here's what you can do to help yourself stay alive.
How not to die, land, sea and air. And coming up next here.
You're telling me this guy got killed because he reached for a foul ball?
The suspect list is the Greater New York phone book.
Brand new Law and Order.